Is writing a will really that important? And what does it look like for the survivors? And what does it look like for the survivors of someone who passes away without a will in place? This is our conversation today, and it starts right after this. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bill Martinez, and I'm a realtor and probate specialist brokered by eXp right here in San Antonio, Texas. Every Tuesday I post new videos all about San Antonio probates and real estate. The passing of a loved one can be a very difficult time for the family members and those close to the deceased. And when it's time to handle the estate, hopefully a will was put in place. Why? To handle the affairs of the deceased. But what should be expected when a loved one passes away and leaves no will behind for the survivors? Today I have a returning guest, attorney Adam Gardinas, who will share what to expect when handling an estate where a will was not left behind. What problems can arise if you do not have a will in place?
Oh,
How about that question?
That's a good point, which is very common, unfortunately. People acquire the property, work all their lives to acquire this property, um, and then, unfortunately, something happens. They're deceased. Um, After that, there's no control of how they may have wanted to distribute this property. If you die, for example, without a will, I've always told my clients, you must have a will, no matter what your estate may be. The process is uh, lengthier, and it's also much more expensive. If you die without a will, then basically what happens is the estate has to be administered through the court process. Now, this is much different than when someone has a will. When someone dies with a will, and the courts uh, uh, accept the will and allow the executor then to distribute. In the will itself, normally, but when the lawyers draft the will, there's a great independence that they give the executor. The executor doesn't have to report how they sold the property, to who they sold the property, how much they got for the property. Basically, it's a very independent process to distribute the assets of the estate if you leave a will. If you don't leave a will, then it's called a dependent administration. Okay. It's very expensive to start with, but it's also very essential because it's the only manner then to legally distribute the assets of the estate. So in a dependent administration, when somebody dies without a will, basically what happens is the heirs have to get together, first of all, decide who then might apply to be the administrator of the state. So right there and then, you're going to have a lot of friction, or at least in my experience, yeah, I've seen that because brother says, no, I don't want sister to be the administrator. The other two heirs may not agree, or you may not agree. But anyway, let's say you get past that. Then the administrator has to also file his application. He's got to be he's going to be scrutinized by the court. You can't have, for example, a criminal history. So the clerks are going to scrutinize the individual, and it makes sense because, I mean, The courts don't want someone with, for example, criminal histories to have their hands on maybe a person's bank accounts,
No.
other legal assets. But anyway, you get past that process, you're going to wait much longer for a hearing. Once that person is appointed as the administrator, it's much different than when someone has a will, because the administrator has to go through the courts and ask permission each and every time that they're going to distribute, for example,
Oh, wow.
an asset. For example, if the house is going to be sold, the lawyer's got to petition the court to get approval from the court to allow the administrator to sell the property. The property will be reviewed to make sure that it's being sold at a fair market value. You're going to have to produce your sales documents. It's a much lengthier, much more expensive process.
It definitely sounds like it. I mean, first of all, probate with a will sounds like it can be what's the word? It could be time consuming. It could be kind of dragged out, I guess. That's with a will. But without a will, my goodness, it sounds like a nightmare, quite frankly.
It can be. It
You
can
know,
be.
it sounds very
It's
involving.
necessary, Bill. I mean, that's the only way then legally that you can pass these assets or distribute these assets.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no other way. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, wow. Make sure you have a will. Dying without a will in place can exacerbate the grieving process. So if you haven't done so yet, I'd like to encourage you to make it a priority to write your will or to put one in place. Now, if you're wanting to learn a little more about dependent administration, be sure to click on this video right here. I'd like to thank Adam for our conversation today. And if you find that you could benefit from his legal services, feel free to contact him at 210-363-4221. Hey, thanks again for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who is going through the probate process or with someone who might be going through that process soon. See you in the next episode. Take care.